All right, welcome back, everyone, here to a Saturday night in Lexington, Kentucky. We are live from the Red Mile. Gabe Pruitt here trackside, and I'm happy to be joined tonight by Chuck Grubbs, one of our in-house professional gamblers here. We've had Sam McKee and myself, a couple of amateurs. Chuck, we're going to bring you along for your advice tonight.
Thank you very much, Gabe.
All right, Chuck, great to have you. And before we dive into tonight's card, you actually own some horses as well. You had a big meet here in the regular portion of the meet, Kentucky Sire Stakes Final. 2-year-old pacing colts. You had 3 horses in there, $175,000, finished 1, 2, 3.
Yes, Gabe, it was a great evening. Got a little lucky. The other 3 horses, one broke and one had broken equipment, so their misfortune was our fortune.
Yeah, well, it's definitely when you get that one shot for the big money, not a bad night to have some luck. Now, we have the racing over the last couple of nights, Chuck. We've seen some big upsets. We've had heavy favorites, but we've got a good card tonight. Do you think it's a card we can make some money on?
I think it's a much better betting card tonight than possibly tomorrow due to all the favorites tomorrow. I think there's a lot of value in this evening's program.
It seems like every favorite I've been in so far has finished up the track. Every long shot I've been on has finished, you guessed it, up the track. So we'll dive right into tonight's card here. We've got a 12-race program. We've got a carryover in the last race. We'll get to that here in a bit. But we'll begin with race 1. It's a late closing event here for the 2-year-old trotters. We got a couple of heavy favorites in the morning line, Chuck. The 3, Showbiz Hall. The 6, Whom Shall I Fear? Which direction are you going in here?
I'm actually leaning towards the 6 and 7, Gabe. Both of them are very expensive yearlings. The 6 was purchased for $475,000. The 7 for $450,000. I like those two. Give the 6 a little bit of an edge because of experience.
Yeah, the 6, Whom Shall I Fear? Of course, a full brother to Pastor Stephen and Father Patrick, both millionaires. He's been brought along a little slowly, had a bit of traffic trouble in that last start locally. They had a breaker the first turn that scattered the field. I pretty much overlooked that effort. He came back to finish a solid third. I like the 6, Whom Shall I Fear in there as well. So we'll move on to race 2. This is another late closing event here. This one for the 2-year-old pacing colts. Again, a couple of big favorites here in the morning line. 3, ASAP Hanover, 7-5. 4, Dudes the Man at 2-1. Do you think we can beat the favorites in here?
Wide open race. Awful lot of unknowns in here. The 1, obviously, tough to beat up in Michigan, but we don't know how good the competition is. I fell on the 4 strictly off of the qualifier. Last quarter, 26 and a piece with the trainer. Now moves to Corey Callahan. I give him a small edge over the 3.
The 4, no question, a good qualifier there. As you mentioned, home 26 and change. He shows Grand Circuit Stakes action there. He was at a Champlain. He was actually at the Metro where he made a break. So, obviously, he has been facing some tough company. I actually went to the 3, ASAP Hanover. I think it's a toss-up, though, as we mentioned. He finished good in his qualifier as well. Close second. He kicked home 26 and change. So, I'll try 3, ASAP Hanover over the 4, Dudes the Man. Probably just going to have to take your choice in there with whomever you're going to use on top. We'll move to the 3rd race. This is another late closer. I love a horse in here, Chuck. Want to see if you agree with me. I think the 6, Buckle Up, draws in a weak spot here. He just crushed Overnight Company at Scioto. I just don't see anyone stepping up here and beating him.
No, that's a real big mile he went at Delaware that day. Last quarter, 27 and 4. A lot of horses weren't getting home that fast that day. I fell on him too, but expect a small price on that one.
Yeah, definitely a short price looming. And one thing for sure, it's wide open for the minor awards there in the 3rd race. Who did you like to use underneath the favorite?
I used the 1 and 2 simply because of positioning. The 1 has been brought along real slow by Tony Alagna. I like the qualifiers. I think that horse has probably got some ability.
All right, so we'll move right along now into the 4th race. It's actually our first stakes division on the card. This one for the 2-year-old pacing colts. Over $82,000 on the line. I thought this race was wide open. Who did you land on in race 4?
I took a small price in here on the 4 over the 7. I believe the 7 will probably be the favorite. Benefited from a perfect steer by Matt Kakaley last week at Yonkers. Second over, fell back in the 2 hole. The 4 Looks like since they give him a little time off, the qualifier and the race look very impressive. I'm going for a small upset on the 4.
I think that's a good pick. He's obviously rounding into good form there. Close second in a stake last time out. I went with a long shot in there myself. I went with the 3 Rufo. Thought this was a fresh threat for Treader Jimmy Takter. Pretty much an unknown commodity. He's been making some breaks. But look at that qualifier. He was second behind Art Speak. He came home 26 and change. Again, he's a fresh horse. He's only raced one time there. And made a break in that event, so really one of his first tries of his career tonight, and we'll look for a Rufo maybe to get the job done at a good number there in race 4. Going to move on to race 5, another bluegrass division for the 2-year-old pacing colts. I like the one on the inside. He lost for words. That was he had a win at Delaware, and that was part of a big week for trainer Brian Brown.
This horse was very impressive. When he shook loose at the head of the stretch, he paced a wicked last 8th. He's landed on the rail. David Miller, I like him the best. Wide open behind him, I went 1-5-3, Gabe.
I thought it was wide open in behind him as well. Thought the 2 Western Pioneer comes off maybe the best performance of his career. Second place finish there in the stake at Hoosier Park. But Dave Miller does take the one lost for words near over his Metro Drive, the 4 Lone Survivor. I'm like you. I'm all over the one lost for words in the 5th. So we'll move along to race 6. And, Chuck, we move back to a late closer here. But for guys like you and me, it's one of the features on the card because it kicks off the $10,000 pick 4.
Absolutely. It's a great bet. The race is not as hard as I thought it was going to be with the scratch of the 2. I had it down to 3 horses, 2, 5, 6, but with Resolve scratched, I'm going to give a small edge to the 5 odds on Amethyst. Barn change to Jimmy Takter. 2 qualifiers, although I don't know if he can beat the 6. The 6 had all sorts of road trouble at Delaware last week.
Well, I think I agree with you wholeheartedly that it looks like it's going to be a 2-horse race in there. Odds on Amethyst for a Takter. This was a talented 2-year-old. He had a win here last year, 54 and change. And as you mentioned, the barn change here, good qualifiers locally. I happened to be on El Sonio Dream, unfortunately, that day at Delaware. He had a ton of traffic trouble. He was bottled up there at the inside, came flying late, finished up a close 3rd, but I was hoping the 2 Resolve would not be scratched in here because that's really going to hurt the price on the 6.
Yeah, I think you're looking at even money, 6-5 on the 6.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. So maybe a favorite there to kick off the pick 4. And if we had a favorite to kick off the pick 4, do you think we're going to have a favorite in leg 2? How about Art Speak, 6 for 6? He's been sensational. Draws in a pretty weak division here in race 7.
Yes, he's done everything they've asked of him. Up in Canada, it was no more than a training mile. When he tipped him 3 wide, he exploded. 1 under wraps. Should be no problem in here.
It's pretty nice to have a training mile, too, with over $600,000 on the line as well. So Art Speak's been sensational. Went with the 5 Blood Brother underneath the big favorite there. Thought he would likely blast out for driver Yannick Gingras. If Art Speak does make a move to the lead, Blood Brother may be in line for a nice trip, but I don't believe there's any threat of knocking off Art Speak here tonight. We'll move on to race 8. Now, this is the 3rd leg of the pick 4, and this is one of the most anticipated races on tonight's card because we've got the 5 He's Watching, top 3-year-old all season. He comes into tonight, though, off a dull effort in the Jug. Limelight Beach picked up his first 2 wins of the season in the Jug first heat and the final.
I thought this race was a very good betting race for the pick 4. I thought there was 5 horses that could win it, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 3's catching fresh Lasix, first-time Ronnie Burke trainer. The 4 obviously had road trouble in the final of the Little Brown Jug for Tyler Smith. I'm going to throw a line through number 5, He's Watching's line. Every race on a 5/8 of a mile been good. I'm going to give a slight edge to He's Watching over the 3, 4, 6, 7.
I agree. I went with He's Watching as well. And we'll move on now to race 9 on the card. Another favorite here. It's to the outside. Always Be Mickey. He had a game finish there in the Meadowlands Pace to be second. He's been on a tear at Hoosier Park since.
Very good at Hoosier. I've watched every race. He can be erratic behind the gate. That's the only problem he's ever had is a few braking problems. I like 8, 2, 7. Always Be Mickey.
All right, we'll look for that. That'll close out the pick 4. And quickly, we'll take a look at the 10th race. 3-year-old pacing fillies here. I really like the 7 Beautiful Lady. Moved to Ron Burke there before the jug out. I thought she came up very big. And I think we're going to get a decent price here tonight as well.
Another good betting race here. I fell on the 4 Precocious Beauty, catching second-time Lasix. Her first start on Lasix up in Canada, a world of road trouble. Brian Sears has drove her once and won. I look for him to give her a patient second or third over trip, and she'll be flying late.
Well, he has teamed up with Precocious Beauty. She was a monster here last year, and of course, we're all pulling for Precocious Beauty, one of our hometown guys, yes. Jimmy Averett, the owner and breeder there. So we'll quickly move along as we are running a bit short on time here. Race 11, we kick off the late double. 3-year-old Basing fillies. Once again, how do you see this one shaping up?
I got it a 2-horse race, 4-6. I give the edge to Galley by the Beach. 2 terrible trips at Delaware. She flew home. I'd like her much better off the pace.
I thought it was very interesting. The driver, Tim Tetrick, took the 6 Galley by the Beach over the 8 Beach Gal, who he has driven every single time, at least in recent times. And as far as my knowledge goes, I do not believe he's been on Galley by the Beach before, and I thought that was an interesting choice.
I'm speculating here that, the owner wanted to make a change. That's the only thing I can anticipate.
Well, should be interesting. We'll see how that one shapes up in the 11th. Now, the 12th race on tonight's card. This is the feature in terms of gambling here. We've got a carryover, 20-cent super high five, 7,500 and change. Only an 8-horse field, but it should be a crapshoot, a wide-open division to close out the card.
Absolutely. I look for the 8 to take the money, be the favorite off his win at Yonkers. Don't pass on the 4. Terrible trip at Yonkers, took the shuffle, had a lot of pace. I think this horse will pick way up on a big track. I really like this horse tonight.
This is my long shot of the night as well, so I'm not sure how big of a long shot he may be with us both on him, and probably many others as well. But as you mentioned, a couple of terrible trips consecutive now. Prior to that, he had 4 straight wins. And trainer Pat LaChance does not send many of these colts down here for the Grand Circuit unless they have a big shot.
No, he's won a lot, especially with 2-year-old colt pacers over the year. One that rings a bell, Sir Ziggy Zetam, a few years ago. This horse has been the best, or not, if not one of the best, in New York all year, and I think he's well spotted here.
All right, we'll take a look for that. Again, 20-cent super high five in the last race, 7,500 and change to carry over. It's a must-play to close out tonight's card. Chuck, thanks a ton for coming in with us tonight. Always great to have you and get your insight. Good luck with all the races here on the card.
Thank you, Gabe.
All right, good luck to everyone. Horses will be on the track here in just a couple of minutes.